Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Monday Night Our Revolution National Call every Monday night at 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific. Our revolution as a nationwide family, as a nationwide movement, gathers up, huddles up, talks about the progressive issues of the day from Capitol Hill to Town Hall. Our revolution is talking about what we're doing together to make America progressive and socially just. I can't wait for tonight's call. It is going to be a barn burner. We are going to be joined by Representative Ayanna Pressley from Boston. We are going to be joined by Jackie Traynere, who is running for Bolingbrook, Illinois mayor. Jackie Traynere, she basically forced a pro-Trump mayor into retirement. And now we have a chance in the suburbs of Chicago to pick up a big mayorship as the progressive revolution is not just Chicago-based, it goes out into the suburbs these days. So cannot wait to talk to Jackie, wait to talk to Representative Pressley as we get going today. So it is 8:26. We'll start this call live at 8:30. So we're just getting warmed up tonight. Please let us know where you're calling in from tonight. Leave us a message on Facebook if you're watching on Facebook. Leave us a message in the Zoom room if you're in Zoom tonight. Let us know where you're calling in from, how you're doing. Tonight, of course, terrible weather across the country, so I hope you're safe. Our friends in Texas today are struggling deeply with this cold weather. Heard rough stories of broken pipes, frozen pipes, bad weather, people losing power. There not being enough energy on the grid to keep up with the demand. So I hope you're safe tonight, wherever you are, and especially if you're in Texas in the South, where you're not used to this freezing cold weather. So I'm seeing some folks chime in. I see Michael from Alexandria, Virginia. Hey, Michael, how's it going? Mary from Chicago. Sparta, New Jersey in the house. Minetta. Holy Hope, Massachusetts is in the room tonight. We got Chicago represented with Davy Logan. We got John Betts from Phillipsburg, New Jersey. We got Oklahoma City, where they're saying it's 1 degree outside in Oklahoma City. That is colder than it is here in Indianapolis, where I think it's like 8 degrees right now. So that is rough. June in Rio Rancho, New Mexico. Got more. Got Morgan Spicer from Monmouth County, New Jersey. Hey, Morgan, how's it going tonight? I got Sally from Boise, Idaho. Man, this is an awesome group of folks showing up tonight. We got Susan, one of our great volunteers, Susan Steigerwalt from Detroit. If you ever want a phone bank and get moving, she is on Slack. We have an awesome phone bank team. I see Nate in Seattle, Rob in Charlottesville. I see Don in Pennington, New Jersey. Coral Springs, Bruce. Hey, Bruce, how's it going tonight? He says it's 85 degrees down there in Broward County. So, North Carolina, we got Renee from Minneapolis. I'm seeing a question. Anybody from Tennessee or Texas on? We might not have many folks on from Texas tonight, as there are internet and power outages across the region. I got Malcolm from Las Vegas. I see Alan from South Carolina. I see somebody from Orange, California. Adelante. See Maureen from Pittsburgh, New York. See Andrew from Connecticut. I see Robert from New Orleans. Man, 30 degrees in New Orleans. Mardi Gras is on Wednesday, but as we all know, it's a socially distanced Mardi Gras. I saw they're doing the parties from the porches, so hopefully things are decent enough in New Orleans. Susan said, remember the Amazon organizing drive. So next week, we will be really heavily focused on the Amazon organizing drive in Birmingham, Alabama, where one of our organizers in Alabama is really helping out on that campaign. So that'll happen next week on this call Monday night. Next week, we'll talk about the Amazon fight down in Alabama, a chance for a huge transformative labor victory. I see Ade from St. Louis. I see Vermont in the house. Seeing a lot of people here. Somebody's making salad for dinner in California. Wendy, is that Wendy? I see Maui is in the house, where I went to my honeymoon. David in Maui, nice to meet you. I see that, we got Santa Cruz in the house, Santa Cruz, California, I think, but we have a great group in Santa Cruz. I see Henry up in Minneapolis. There's cold in Minneapolis, but they're used to it. Kevin, Mount Rainier, Maryland, outside of DC. Edison, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Bellingham, Washington. We got rural Colorado in the house, and we got Winnetka, California in the house. So New York City with Earl. Hey, Earl, how's it going? So let's now go ahead and get started. We'll go ahead and start our Monday night organizing call. Great call coming up. I'm going to pass it over to Marissa. Marissa, how's it going tonight?
I'm doing well. How are you? Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our National Organize to Win call. My name is Marissa, and I'm Operations Director with Our Revolution. And I'm so excited that this month we have kicked off our 2021 membership drive, and we've already had over 300 people sign up since February 1st to become monthly sustaining members. And, you know, we're at a critical moment for our movement. As our chair of the Senate Budget Committee, Bernie, is on the inside, and he's fighting for 15 and other progressive policies, but he needs our help to fight on the outside. And, you know, change comes from the bottom up, and that's why we're building a strong movement built of a national network of local volunteers who support our local groups. And that's where you all come in. Our revolution doesn't take any money from corporations or the billionaires. We rely on people like you to become our movement builders. And for $5 a month or more, we'll send you a movement builder membership card featuring original artwork from our world-renowned illustrator and Our Revolution Nashville leader, Lauren Rowling. And when you join as a sustaining member, you'll be helping us carry out our 4-point plan to win. And as we know, we have about 5,000 people on the phones right now. And out of that group of 5,000, we have over 200 folks that are current members. So can we help get that number up tonight? You'll see links in the chat. If you're on the phones, you can talk to an operator by pressing *3 to make a commitment. So if you're on the phones, you can press *3. And now I'm going to kick it over to Mike to go over our 4-point plan to win.
Thank you, Marissa. Again, everybody, hi, this is Mike Olis, National Field Director of Our Revolution. Welcome to tonight's call. And as we organize here in 2021, we have a 4-point plan that we are really working hard to implement. And today is President's Day, so if you weren't snowed in, and hopefully you had a nice day off, if you were able to take the day off. But point one of our 4-point plan is that we want President Biden to be progressive. We want President Biden to be one of the most progressive presidents in American history. So with Democrats now controlling, basically the White House and Congress, that's some work to do there in the third level of government, the Supreme Court. But we want to make sure that our revolution is out there fighting to hold Joe Biden accountable to the progressive movement. And I think we had a decently promising tweet this week. The risk isn't that we do too much when it comes to a COVID relief package, is that we don't do enough. We have to go big. I hope that Joe Biden learned that during the Obama era when they didn't go big enough. And now as progressives, we got to make sure that we try to make as many people whole as possible coming out of this COVID disaster and going into the future. So that's point number one, is that we want to hold Joe Biden accountable to the progressive movement. And we're also calling him to do more, not just on COVID relief, but we want to make sure that we get major reform when it comes to student debt. We're part of a national effort to make sure, and we'll talk more about that tonight, to make sure that we can erase at least $50,000 per federal borrower in student debt. And then also, we're going to be out there fighting for the $15 minimum wage as a starting point. We think we can get it done, but our revolution has to be organized and in the streets and in the ears of our members of Congress, in the ears of Joe Biden going forward. So we are going to build this movement to hold Joe Biden accountable. And we've also got to make sure that we get the filibuster working. By working, I mean getting rid of it. We got to get rid of the filibuster. We are working extremely hard on the two folks in Congress on the Democratic side that we got to push. Sinema and Manchin. But we also got to realize that only 7 Republicans, voted for Trump's impeachment after this insurrection. We know that they're going to block the progressive agenda at every aisle. So we know the filibuster should be gone. Like, it's a relic of the Jim Crow era. We got to get rid of it. We know the Republicans aren't going to, work with us in faith. So let's get rid of the filibuster and let's get the progressive agenda through Congress into Joe Biden's desk. In the chat room, we're going to put in there, fix the Senate petition. In the filibuster, fix the Senate. And let's make sure that that going forward here in 2021, if you've not signed up and become a member of our revolution, become a member today. We've have great success with this. Imagine if we get a couple thousand more members this month, we can hire more organizers across the country and build more and more power across the country. So I'm going to kick it over to point number 2. And Marissa.
Yeah. And our point number 2 in our plan to win is electing progressive champions. Our sister Nina Turner likes to say there's no rest for on the justice journey, and 2021 is not a year off for us. There are hundreds of elections this year. We're supporting progressive candidates up and down the ballot. And when you become a sustaining member, you are helping our revolution elect progressive champions like Nina in Ohio and Jackie Traynere, who we'll hear from later this call, in Illinois. And number 3, we are fighting for progressive policies. Last year, we won nearly 81% of our state and local ballot initiatives, like the Fight for 15 and paid family leave. And this year, we're pushing Biden on progressive issues like canceling student debt and declaring a climate emergency, while our local groups have helped win a fracking fight in Ohio and help pass Medicare for All resolution in New Jersey, which you'll also hear more about later on the call. And you'll also hear about efforts from our groups in Connecticut to pass a right to counsel law for folks that are faced with eviction during this time. And by joining our revolution, you'll help support many of our efforts to keep fighting on these progressive issues, as well as many others. And I'll kick it to Mike.
Absolutely. And I'm seeing some comments here in the question about the fight for a stimulus and making sure folks get checks that can support their families. Absolutely. We are in the fight to make sure this COVID package includes, checks and regular checks for folks who are out there struggling so that we can get through this crisis as best we can. But number 4 in our revolution, a 4-point plan, is that we're going to need a progressive Democratic Party from the national, state, and county level, right, all the way down to the precinct. So number 4, our revolution, we got to build and transform the Democratic Party into a progressive party. That's what makes our revolution unique. We're one of the few organizations that consider party building part of its core mission. So we are going to hear tonight from California a powerful story about what progressives in California are doing to transform the second largest Democratic Party in the country. You have the DNC, the National Party, and then the California Party is the second largest party. So tonight we will hear more about what we're doing in California with some of our great organizers. And look, your monthly gift, please donate tonight, will help us build a progressive party in 2021 and beyond. Our revolution can become the backbone of this progressive party. Our movement building depends on strengthening our national network of local groups who are supported by local organizers. And since we started our organizing drive, our new membership drive on February 1st, we have raised enough money now to hire 3 additional organizers. And one of them is Kristen Hoffman in Virginia, where we have key elections coming up in a state that has gone blue, but now we need to make it go Bernie blue. We encourage you to become a recurring donor again. You can join for as little as $5 a month. You'll get that sweet membership card in the mail, designed by Lauren Rowling, one of our great organizers and an internationally renowned artist who is part of our movement. There's Lauren's artwork. That'll be your card. Sign up tonight. If you've already signed up, thank you so much. That is awesome and amazing. Sign up your friends. Let's get everybody in this country, right, to become a card-carrying member of our revolution. And I'm going to kick this now back to get this call moving. Back to Marissa.
And I'm excited to welcome our first guest, Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, who was endorsed by our revolution, and she is a powerful voice in Congress on progressive issues. She represents the 7th Congressional District of Massachusetts and serves on the House Financial Services and Oversight and Reform Committees, and she's a founding member of the squad. Welcome, Congresswoman Pressley.
Hi, Marissa. Great to be with all of you. Always good to be in community with my fellow movement builders, activists, agitators, disruptors. I'm so indebted to all of you, but not just me personally for your support of my campaign, but for the role that you play in elevating consciousness and advancing a progressive agenda, and that you're focused on movement building and policy, because policy is my love language. I so appreciate the labor that all of you have been expending as I reflect on the January 6th events and the shameful cowardice of the 43 senators in the impeachment trial. There's many images that are seared in my brain, that of a noose being erected on the west lawn of the Capitol, people brandishing a Confederate flag, a Trump flag, and an image of an all-Black custodial staff cleaning up the mess left behind by a violent white supremacist mob. And they demonstrated dignity and patriotism, which they do every day, but especially on this day, so that we could do the business of ratifying the Electoral College. But that image has been the most resonant and the most heartbreaking for me because it is as literal as it is a metaphor for America. Black folk have been cleaning up, Black folk and other systemically, structurally oppressed and marginalized communities have been cleaning up the mess of violent white supremacist mobs for generations. And it must end. And this must be labor that we are all putting in. And so I consider you each to be my siblings in this movement. And this moment requires of all of us radical truth-telling, bold policymaking, and inclusive. Look, if history is written by the winners, then you should all be writing history, because the civil rights movement did not end. We are still in it. And because of your organizing, Latasha Brown from Black Voters Matter reminds us that organized power is realized power. And Coretta Scott King reminded us that, freedom and justice are earned every generation. Democracy is breathing another day because you recognize that the power of the people has always been greater than the people in power. And the reason why democracy is still breathing, although it is on life support, is because of this movement, this multicultural, multi-generational, issues-based movement of the most marginalized. The most marginalized met the moment and made it possible for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris to be elected. And Georgia showed out twice. So now it is incumbent upon the Biden-Harris administration and this Democratic majority-led House and Senate to advance bold progressive policies, which by the way are populist policies, to meet the needs of the very movement that made this victory possible. And so for me, that includes everything from $2,000 reoccurring survival checks, because they're not even stimulus checks at this point, to canceling student debt, to abolishing the federal death penalty, to radically reimagining our criminal legal system, which includes ending qualified immunity, and certainly a $15 minimum wage. So I will stop there. We've got our work cut out for us. We always knew, as my Working Families Party siblings remind us, that the election of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, or really any elected official, is a door, not the destination. So we knew it was still going to be on us to organize, to mobilize. In Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, we have compassionate people after 4 years of an administration that has contempt for the American people and for working people. We have thoughtful and compassionate partners, but a key component of every partnership is accountability. And that's why it's so important that we continue to organize and to mobilize and to push to legislate our values. This is not the time to play small. This is the time to lead. And so I thank all of you for the collective care, the mutual aid that has emerged in the face of COVID and the economic hardship it has wrought, and this national reckoning on systemic and structural racism, and the host to that systemic and structural racism that is the scourge that is white supremacy. Thank all of you. And I'm happy to get into some questions.
Thank you, Congresswoman. So our first question is, what is the state of play with the stimulus checks? And can you tell us a little bit about the minimum wage with the stimulus checks, the $15 minimum?
Okay, so let's start with an update on the COVID relief package. This is really a critical moment, and all of our communities are hurting. Black and brown communities are being disproportionately impacted. And in the House versions of the bill and the current negotiations, progressives fought hard on that $15 minimum wage language was secured. That is a progressive victory. And I have to give credit where credit is due to the movement, and also to Senator Sanders, and to the chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, Pramila Jayapal. On eligibility for survival checks, we organized and defeated really bad faith attempts to limit eligibility. And so mixed status families are included in the House bill. That's critical. And we need to focus on keeping this language as strong as possible for the Senate fight. And I'm going to continue to fight, pun intended, unapologetically, for policies that meet the scale of the crisis. And I've repeatedly told my colleagues and the White House that we need reoccurring $2,000 survival checks for the duration of this crisis. We know that these funds are needed to keep people safely housed. Many are on the precipice of eviction. We know that people need these survival checks to purchase diapers, to remain fed, to purchase life-saving medications. And the federal response has really failed to meet the scale and scope of this crisis. And that has everything to do with the obstructionists on the Senate side, who have obstructed justice and progress at every turn. And of course, more recently, demonstrated great contempt and a lack of responsibility to our democracy, our Constitution, their constituents, and our colleagues. So it's long overdue that we pass a relief package that will meet the scale and scope of this crisis. And so we have to go big. The Fed has told us to go big. The American people are demanding that we go big, and we need relief that is as far reaching and goes as deep as the hurt.
Yes, that is so true. We definitely need as much help as we can get now. And I just wanted to add another question for you, Congresswoman. President Biden agrees that we need to cancel student debt, and he's pledged to do a cancellation of $10,000. And you've called on him to go further. Can you explain the connection between student debt and the racial wealth gap?
Sure. So, I've been calling for the cancellation of student debt since I arrived at Congress 2 years ago. It has always been an economic justice issue and a racial justice issue, although that part of it has not usually received the oxygen that it deserves and that it merits. Because of the reason why I say policy is my love language is because we have legislated, we have legalized disproportionate hurt and harm on communities of color, immigrant communities. And so if we can legislate hurt and harm, then we can legislate equity, healing, and justice. And so because of discriminatory, draconian policy violence like redlining, Black and brown families were denied the ability to build generational wealth. And consequently, Black students, 85% of them have no choice but to take out loans. And they're 5 times more likely to default on those loans than their white peers. And so canceling student debt, given the disproportionate burden of debt bore by Black and brown borrowers, is an economic justice issue. It is a racial justice issue. And myself, Representative Omar, Senators Warren and Schumer are calling for a $50,000 canceling of debt. It will go a long way in closing the racial wealth gap. It will immediately begin to mitigate hurt. It is critical to a just and equitable economic recovery from this pandemic. And here's the best part. although we've introduced a bill, this can be done with the stroke of a pen by Joe Biden using the full authority of executive action. And that's exactly what we're organizing for and calling on him to do. And I should add, not only is this a racial justice issue, it is an economic justice issue, a nearly $2 trillion crisis, but not just for millennial and Gen Z. The fastest growing contingent of those who have defaulted on loans or who owe are 50 plus. I have 76-year-olds in my district who are still paying student loans. So this is a crisis for the nation, but it is disproportionately borne by Black and brown borrowers.
That's right. Yes, and with the stroke of a pen, we are calling on President Biden to help cancel student debt, and there's some links in the chat where you can sign up as well. So thank you so much, Congresswoman, for joining us today. We appreciate your time and everything that you have to say. You know, our folks are supportive, and we're listening, and we're here to help as much as we can from the outside for all the amazing work that you're doing on the inside. And is there anything else that you'd like to share with us before you go? But thank you so much for joining us today.
I just want to say, you know, the squad is big, y'all. And that's about more than members of Congress. That is anyone doing the work of building a more equitable and just society, which you all are doing. And I think people often misunderstand the righteous indignation of this movement. But you know, and I know that righteous indignation is informed by a radical love of community, a radical love of justice, a radical love for humanity. So thank you.
Thank you again. And again, everyone, there are links in the chat. We're calling on President Biden not just to pause, but cancel student debt. Join us by signing the link. And for listeners on the phone, the link is ourrev.us/no-edu debt. And thank you again, Congresswoman. We appreciate your time. And now I'm going to kick it to Mike to introduce our next guest.
Thank you, Marissa. And policy is, love that policy is our love language. And we just had Valentine's Day, and I wish I had used that on my Valentine's cards to my fellow comrades in our revolution. Policy is our love language, and that's why so many of us gather up and fight so hard. And to have great leaders like Congresswoman Pressley with us is awesome. So thank you so much, Congresswoman. Thank you, Marissa. I just want to give a couple quick shout outs because we have some donations coming in tonight, and just want to give shout outs to some of our new monthly donors, some of our new monthly members. So Bonnie Grant in Minnesota, thank you. David in California, thank you. Elizabeth in Portland, I know it's weather's a little rough in Portland, so thank you, Elizabeth. Kate in Colorado, thank you for your donations tonight. And just got a couple more that I want to shout out to. Sandra in Bakersfield, we're gonna hear some more from Kern County tonight, so thank you, Sandra. Cindy in Annapolis, and Julie in Santa Monica. So we are, again, thanking everybody donating tonight. Become a local member. Your membership will be local, statewide, national, all the same thing. That's what makes our revolution so great. I'm seeing a note here that our next guest, Jackie Traynere, is not with us yet. I know she was in some heavy snow in Chicago. They're in the suburbs of Chicago. So if she has not joined us, I think if you want to go to the next section of her call, which will focus on the work of our revolution organizers across the country. So am I getting that, Jackie? Jackie Traynere has not joined us, correct? Okay.
Correct. She'll be on as soon as she can. She's kind of stuck right now. She's trying to
hopefully she's not stuck in the snow. So let's go ahead. Let's go to Connecticut. And let's go into the meat of what our revolution does, which is organized at the local and state level. And excited to join one of my favorite Our Revolution leaders and organizers, Nick Teeling. Nick is a leader of Our Revolution Connecticut. And in Connecticut, they just had their state call this past week. And the call was based on the organizing to get a right to counsel law passed at the Connecticut State House. This is a groundbreaking initiative. And it would be Connecticut would be one of the first states to pass a right to counsel law. And this has to do with evictions. 90% of landlords have an attorney with them when there's an eviction, but less than 10% of tenants have legal representation. So in housing court, this would allow tenants to have the right to a lawyer and representation as they fight to stay in their home and stay in their home before they are evicted. So this is a very important bill, and 7 cities across the country have right to counsel laws, but not many states. And so I'm so excited to hear from Nick and the work of Our Revolution Connecticut as we fight for the right to counsel legislation in Connecticut. So Nick, how's it going tonight?
Hey, good, Mike. Thanks for having us. So you hit it right in the head that we are facing like an unprecedented eviction crisis. And some of the great work we get to do at Our Revolution Connecticut and across the country is hold democratic establishments and governments accountable. In Connecticut, like, we're making sure we're pushing for this law. As somebody who used to run constituent services for a state senator, I can tell you from personal experience, the eviction process is tough. You're going through a lot when you're facing that. I had a lot of folks who would call me in our office and they would cry because they were losing their home and they had no protection. They were going into a process that was confusing and convoluted with little to no counsel or protection. So this law would give them that protection, the protection that they're owed when they're trying to be forced out of their home, especially during a pandemic. It's like super exciting that we had a big win this past week too, not only just on our call, but the bill itself got raised as a concept for a public hearing in our state housing committee by an Our Revolution endorsed state senator, George Cabrera. So our elections do matter too, which was great and very exciting. So yeah, I believe there is a petition for the bill that they will drop in the chat. If you're interested in signing up, especially from Connecticut, to support this, please do it. If you're from Connecticut too, please reach out to your state house rep and senators. Let them know that this is an important bill for you. And if you want to get involved with our work here in Connecticut and what we're doing, I believe that petition also has the abilities to plug in right away there.
Awesome, Nick. And just again, tell us a little bit about, so Connecticut now has a decently large amount of progressive legislators. But we really helped Representative Cabrera get through the door this past election. And what does it mean to have, to be in a state where the progressives are getting better and better organized, have been organized for a while, and you can move agendas like this through the State House? What's that like?
It's so exciting. I used to work in the State House in 2019, and like, it's so impressive how in like 2 years, like, we got more progressive. Senator Cabrera is like a great example. He was an organizer and union leader with UCFW and was one of the lead fighters for when our Stop and Shop workers went on strike to fight for greater benefits. And now, not only like is he in the State House, but he knocked out a horrible Republican state senator that was stalling all sorts of progressive legislation going through our state Senate. So it's pretty groundbreaking to have somebody like that who looks at a law like this that's really one based in compassion to help people, to make sure that when they're being forced out of their home, at the very least, they have some sort of like lifeline and counsel, that he's willing to like raise that bill and fight for us there.
Awesome. Yeah, Our Revolution Connecticut, teaming up with the Working Families Party and other progressives in the state, right, has built, it's what happens when progressives organize and come up with a plan and execute it over a number of years, really. So, awesome work. Thank you so much for your work in the State House. Now you're out of the State House, but still doing progressive organizing. And let's be in touch, and let's try to get these laws passed out across the country. We have a massive housing crisis upon us that will get worse and worse. So we talked about getting those survivor checks out to everybody and keeping the money floating into people's pockets. But this is one way that we can make a difference in people's lives. So thank you, Nick. Any last comments tonight from Connecticut as we think about this eviction crisis ahead of us?
Policies are love language, and I can't think of anything more loving than keeping your neighbors in their homes during a pandemic.
Absolutely. Thank you, Nick, so much. And we'll be in touch. And I think Jackie Traynere is back with us now. So what I found interesting beforehand, I was reading Representative Pressley's Wikipedia, And she actually grew up in Chicago, and she was voted most likely in her high school class to become the mayor of Chicago. That's Ayanna Pressley. But she moved to Boston. But Jackie Traynere, just on the outskirts of Chicago in Bolingbrook, a suburb probably 25 minutes from the Chicago Loop, is running for mayor. And we're going to have a chance to elect a very progressive mayor of Bolingbrook, Illinois, and replace a Trump-supporting mayor. So, Jackie, are you with us tonight?
I sure am. Thank you so much, Paco. I'm very excited to be here this evening.
Great. And actually, this is Mike with our Rev. Paco is helping us behind the scenes, but Paco is awesome too. And Jackie, I know I'm involved with the Will County Progressives and Clem and the Illinois team quite a bit. Could you tell us a little bit about your mayor's race and what's at stake with this election coming up?
Sure. We've been under the same leadership for over 34 years. Those people are so out of touch with the day-to-day existence of residents in Bolingbrook. The most recent past mayor made a comment that there were loads of houses available for $100,000 in Bolingbrook. One of my opponents now, a third candidate that has popped up into this race, he talked about how you could buy a house for $80,000 at a round table just 2 weeks ago. I'm a realtor. There's nothing available in Bolingbrook under $130,000. These folks are just out of touch with the day-to-day battles and struggles of working Americans in our community. And I want to make sure that we get some attainable housing in our community. I want to do things to bring down the cost of our utilities. The prior administration sold off our water company. It's no longer publicly owned, but privately owned for profit. And it's a scam and a shame.
And Jackie, you're a former union organizer, a 2016 Bernie delegate, and actually a card-carrying member of our revolution too. So what's it like going from being an organizer and a Bernie delegate to running for mayor? What kind of, going through those that process of organizing and fighting for Bernie, what do you bring to this race that is unique?
Just so many experiences, so many relationships with people all over our state, all over our country, as a matter of fact, because I did organize from sea to shining sea, as they say. So my contacts with people just everywhere has been very, very helpful. My past relationship with labor, being an organizer, and being on the picket line with workers and with locals. Throughout our area. I was arrested even one time when we were picketing in front of a Walmart distribution center over, basically stolen wages. I was working with Warehouse Workers for Justice. So I've been very fortunate, having been a single mom myself for 12 years and living through the day-to-day struggles of how I was going to get funds to raise my children because, well, my ex-husband didn't pay his child support. I know what it's like to be on both sides, what it's like to be poor and what it's like to be working class and getting by. And I think that's important. And that's something that's been missing by our prior administration. The fact that they sold off our water company to a private company. We used to pay about $300 a year for water. We're now paying $1,600 a year for water in our community.
That's outrageous. And the privatization of our public resources is something that we got to fight across the country, and selling off water companies. I've seen it here in Indiana. I've seen it in Illinois and across the country that, when we privatize, corporations win and everyday people lose.
That's absolutely right, Mike. We have to wake up more people to get them to realize it. We have to reach out to our neighbors and talk to them about what's going on in the communities. Too many people are afraid of politics right now because, well, it has kind of a bad name. We've all seen bad things happen in politics, but you got to look past the bad and look towards the future to try to make change. And it starts at the local level. I see people complain all the time about property taxes in Illinois. But those very same people are not stepping up to run for the offices that make the decisions about those property taxes. And that's what I decided to do when I threw my hat in the ring for mayor 4 years ago and narrowly lost. And I'm at it again because, well, I'm not a quitter. If at first you don't succeed, try again.
And Jackie, you lost the election against a 30-year incumbent by how many votes? 50?
It was
56?
101 votes on election night. It was less than a half a percentage point. There were over 13,000 people that voted in that election. And that still wasn't a good turnout. We should have had about 35 or 40,000.
And Jackie, so, and you know, you're somebody who's been an organizer, you're an elected official, you're a part of the Democratic Party in Will County, and you've done a ton of work to make the county party better, to be a strong voice for justice on the county board. You work with Our Revolution. We're with you. Tonight, we're announcing our national endorsement of Jackie Traynere for Mayor of Bolingbrook, Illinois. You know, when one of your members and one of your supporters and is running for mayor, we want to be there with you and support you. You know, these next couple of weeks and months. The election's in April, right? So we have a couple months to go, but we want to make sure we get every vote out in Bolingbrook. That our Will County Progressives group is with you, our national group is with you, our Illinois group is with you. So we're going to do it. We're going to win, and we're going to win this by hopefully more than 100 votes. But if we win by 100 votes, that'll be great too.
That would be fantastic. And if you want to know more about me or our platform, you can visit my website, Jackie, Jackie, 4 mayor.com.
Great. And I'm seeing a question here. Is this this is a nonpartisan election, right? So in April 4th is
April
election
6th.
April 6th is election date.
And it's nonpartisan.
Nonpartisan. And is there a runoff, or is it winner takes?
No runoff. It's winner take all.
Okay. So we got to do it. I'm looking here for any other quick questions. A lot of people are talking about housing prices. I see some of our California friends limiting the average price of a home in Berkeley, California, which is a lot of money. But here in the Midwest, where housing used to be really affordable, even places in the Midwest are really struggling with affordable housing right now. You see it across the country. It's like they're gaming the housing market. So at the benefit of investors and not at the benefit of folks who need to have a home.
Very true. Very true. Housing is getting more and more expensive, and it's great for people that already have one because they're making good on their investment. But for those that are trying to attain their first one, it's like that mysterious college education. You know, it seems kind of out of reach.
Absolutely, and Our Revolution. That's why we got to fix our housing crisis. We got to fix the student debt crisis, and we got to elect people like Jackie Traynere to mayor. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. I know. The weather is probably just as terrible in Chicago as it is across the country. So safe travels tonight. And thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Very appreciated, Mike. And I'll be listening to the rest of the program on my drive home.
Great. Thank you, Jackie. And let's go back to Marissa.
Thanks, Mike. And I would like to introduce Charlie. When we organize, we win. Aldermen of Dover, New Jersey unanimously passed a Medicare for All resolution, making Dover the 5th town in New Jersey to do so. And Our Revolution, New Jersey helped make it happen. So here's more from Our Revolution Morris County leader, Charlie Baranski, to New Jersey. And I'm going to kick it over to Charlie.
Yeah, thank you, Marissa. So, yeah, that's exactly right. We are probably, in Morris County, we might be the youngest Our Revolution chapter so far. So we wanted to get off to a very strong start. And what we did was we went to Dover, New Jersey, which is 56% Hispanic. It's one of the places in New Jersey where we saw the largest swings towards Donald Trump in the election. And we talked to the alderman, the town council, just like you said, and unanimously they passed a resolution in support of Medicare for All. And these are the people that, the local government, which is very, very good to organize and push for congressional support of Medicare for All, but it's also a very good marker to have down because now the community here in Dover they're aware that their leadership and the progressive Democrats of New Jersey and of Morris County are with them in a pandemic, making sure that they have the right to health care, as we all should. We're making sure that we have New Jersey congressional representatives on Medicare for All. The Dover resolution included a provision where they're going to endorse, push for, fight for similar endorsements across the political spectrum, the Morris County government, the New Jersey State House, as well as the congressional representation. So last Congress, we had 2 representatives in New Jersey sign on to the Medicare for All bill, Medicare for All Act. This time around, we're trying to get a lot more than 2. And that's the way that we're going to do it, is by talking to the people in local government and making sure that they go on the record supporting progressive priorities. And when you go local, you usually get some pretty good results. Like we said, it was a unanimous vote, and that's here in Morris County, which is a Whole Foods suburb. It's a well-off suburb of New York City. So if we can win here, we can win anywhere. And pushing through these Medicare for All resolutions is a really good way to do it. So we're looking forward to passing some more in the other towns in the county and making sure that we throw down the gauntlet and make sure that everyone knows that progressive Democrats are fighting for them.
Awesome. That's amazing work in Morris County. Charlie, thank you for joining us. And you know, in cities and states across the country, our Revolution members like Nick and Charlie are fighting for progressive policies to help create progressive change in people's lives. And you can become a member like so many others, like Patricia, John, Kirsten, Ernie, and Amy, who are all listening right now, by clicking the link in the chat or going to rrev.us 2021/2021 member. And by becoming a member, you're going to support important work like the work that Charlie and Nick are doing in their communities. So, and those of you who are on the phones, you can also press *3 and talk to an operator and let them know that you are interested in becoming a member. And I'm going to kick it back to Mike.
Hey, Marissa, thank you so much. Love hearing from our New Jersey team. I know that's your home state, so you did a good job over there in New Jersey, helping get the progressive movement going. And Anna Marta, our regional coordinator, and Charlie, great work in New Jersey. I saw in the panels that our Revolution New Jersey group has got more resolutions passed than any other network in the country. So we want to get those resolutions passed across the country. And going into spring, we want to get Medicare for All to become the law of the land. I want to go now from the Garden State to the Golden State and talk about progressive party building. The California Democratic Party is the second largest Democratic Party in the country, just behind the National Party, right? So the DNC is the largest party, and the California Democratic Party is the second largest party in the country. And progressives are doing tons of amazing work in California when it comes to making sure the California Party is progressive. Progressives won California for Bernie almost a year ago on Super Tuesday, and they've never stopped organizing. So I want to go to Kern County, where Bakersfield is, in the Central Valley of California. We have a powerhouse group in the Central Valley in Kern County, Delano and Bakersfield, California. So I'm going to go now to Neil Sinapa and Yvette Flores, who are doing some amazing work at the party level and locally. So Neil and Yvette, take it away. How's it going tonight?
Hey, y'all. It's great to be here with all of you. My name is Neil Sinapa. I was a former regional field director for Bernie out here in Kern. I'm also the co-founder of our Revolution chapter here in Kern County, and my pronouns are he and him. So just like a little bit of an overview, a lot of folks I feel like have the idea that California is just a very, very progressive state all around. Like, you can look anywhere and you'll find, city councils full of progressive Democrats and things like that. Not very much the case in the Central Valley. And that's a lot of the work that we've been putting forward and pushing forth. The Central Valley tends to be more of like the demographics and the political ideology of Texas. There's some very red areas. My representative is Kevin McCarthy. I know there's been a lot of talk about him, and he's the QAnon representative in Congress now. And so pretty much what we as Our Revolution Kern County have been doing is we've really concentrated on trying to build within the party. And progressives here locally have really tried to get seats within the party. So early on in 2017, that was the first time we ever ran folks for these delegate positions. And we won a couple seats. This last election, prior to this one, in 2019, we actually swept, and we were able to accomplish, so many things through party building and through taking positions in the party. I, after working on the Bernie campaign, actually worked on Veronica Vasquez's campaign in the city of Delano. It's where the farm workers movement, was birthed with Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta. And so, during that campaign, having progressives out there advocating for these candidates that were pro-labor, pro-immigration, and, really fighting to bring back true representation to those rural areas, because what we've noticed is that a lot of Republicans, a lot of folks have been going into these rural areas and planting seeds where the rest of the party really isn't looking. So as a progressive movement, we've been looking at these rural areas and making sure that we can get, our brothers or sisters or friends in the labor movement elected to those positions. And a lot of that has happened through party building. The fact that, a lot of progressives have won here in California, we can now hold our electeds accountable to the Democratic Party platform here in California, which does embrace single payer, does embrace a Green New Deal, and all of those things. And there's a lot of more establishment Dems that are trying to push back our progress on that front. And so right now what I'm going to do is actually pass it over to Yvette Flores here in a second. To tell you a little bit more about the ADEM structure. Before I do that, I just wanted to say, everybody on the call, please check out Our Rev Curran on Twitter. So you can follow us and everything that we're doing here in the Central Valley. And I actually tweeted or retweeted something on our account that has all of the progressives wins from Assembly District 1 all the way to 80 that was put together by Alfred Twu, who is a progressive delegate who lives up north from us. So if you do want to check that out, please do that. And I'll pass it on to Yvette so she can kind of explain about a little bit of the party structure and what we were actually able to do with our wins in the ADEM elections.
For that. So thank you. Before I get started, I want to say thank you to all the folks that actually invited us to be a part of this call. And thank you for that wonderful introduction, Mike. Again, my name is Yvette Flores. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm an activist here in the Central Valley. I've been an activist for the past, however many years. I'm a very strong advocate of Medicare for all. The organization was put together in 2000. Our revolution was put together in 2016, right after Bernie Sanders ran, of course. And ever since then, we've made it a priority to make sure that the Democratic Party here locally knows that we are a force to be reckoned with, right? So in 2017, we were able to run and win half of the delegate seats to the convention, followed by 2019. In 2019, we were able to also run another really phenomenal group of progressives for these delegate seats. And we actually had a full win. And this last time around, in conjunction with Assembly District number 32, we were able to win 2 full slates, which is really amazing work. Thank you to all the folks that are listening in, like Maribel and all the people from the Delano area that were able to help us win those seats. But what exactly does this mean, right? What do these delegates actually do to further our progressive movement? The biggest thing is that it gives us the ability to have a voice within the party so that we actually get allocated resources. Within the Central Valley in California, a lot of people just think that because we're a part of California, we get all those really great resources that the Bay Area and that Los Angeles area gets. But that's actually not the truth. When we go to these conventions, more often than not, we are forgotten about, leading to a lot of Republican control within the Central Valley. But what we've done with these seats is we've been able to gain more of a role to advocate for our progressives that are in the Central Valley. and to also be able to have a say on the party leadership. A really important election that we have the power to vote in is who chairs the California Democratic Party, which really has so much power over what we can accomplish nationally, because we really do set a standard for, in a lot of ways for the rest of the country. And so the next chair that we're going to be voting for is going to be between Delane Easton and Rusty Hicks, and it really is going to be a very important election for us, because it's really going to decide if we will continue down a progressive route, or if we're going to backtrack on all of the amazing things that we have been able to accomplish throughout the years. So really important that we get involved in these delegate seats and that we win them, so that we have more of a say in our Democratic Party. And I believe we also do have one more slide. So if y'all are interested in what the duties of the delegates are, we have put together a really wonderful PowerPoint that kind of outlines all of these wonderful duties that you have as a delegate. And we actually have a full PowerPoint if you want to listen if you want to read a little bit more about what we've accomplished in the last couple of years. A big win that we've been able to have is this last cycle, we were able to flip a city council within Kern County, which is a huge deal. So now we have a progressive majority on the Delano City Council. And if any of y'all are familiar with Delano, it really is the birthplace of the labor movement. Dolores Huerta, Larry Itleong, we have Cesar Chavez coming out of our area. And so it really is a sign to the rest of the county and to the rest of the Central Valley that progressives are taking over and that we are not going to be stopping anytime soon. And so we are very happy that we have a majority progressive city council in Kern County, and the second largest city in Kern County. But now our eyes are set on, different races, and we're hoping that we can continue the movement. But yeah, I'm going to pass it back to, I guess, Mike, to see if he has anything else that you'd like us to add.
No, that's awesome. And I just want to say, Kern County is a population of about 900,000 people. So that is it's a very large county. In California, it might seem like it's not the biggest of places, but a county of almost 1 million people. It's a, top 75 county in the country in terms of population. It's a place with Kevin McCarthy, right? The terrible congressman that we are always fighting, and you guys are especially always fighting. And also, like, this group has become a really progressive powerhouse. If you turn on local news, you might see Neil on local TV talking about progressive politics and the news of the day. So it's a pretty awesome group, Yvette and Neil. So great work, and thanks for joining us tonight. And our Revolution California is launched, and we're going to be doing a big state call coming up in March. But there's a bunch of huge fights at the state and local level in California that our Revolution is part of. So thank you for being with us tonight, and thank you for all your work. And I can't wait for this Delane Easton election coming up too.
Thank you, Mike.
And as we wrap up tonight, let's just go. Let's do a quick membership update. Again, please become a donor to our Revolution. Become a monthly donor, $5, $10, $15, $20, $100 a month, whatever you can give. Let's do it. Let's build this movement across the country. Let's get our local groups the resources and support they need to win and do what they've done in Kern County, which is take over things. So $5 a month, that will go a long way. And if you can give more, even better. And if you already give, thank you so much for your support. We'll make sure that you also get your 2021 membership card. I'm going to see if we have any other donor updates. I think we might have one time for a quick question. Neil and Yvette, if you're still with us, I see a question here. And I see Taft has joined us. So hey, Taft, how's it going? Thank you for your support. The question is about poverty. What is the poverty like in Kern County these days? What are farm worker conditions like?
So I can go ahead, I think, and take that question. So when it comes to the Central Valley, the wealth disparity between other parts of California and our area is huge. So what we're looking at is two different congressional districts that take over Kern County. So there's Congressional District number 23, which is the infamous Kevin McCarthy district. We're working really hard to try to get him out in the next couple of cycles. And then we have CD 21. So Congressional District number 21 is predominantly a Democratic area, but also there's a huge you see rates of poverty a lot higher. So we're looking at the median income of households at about $25,000 to $40,000. So not very much. But when you look at congressional district number 23, we're looking at more wealthy folks, people who are a little bit more college educated. But again, we do not have the same amount of resources as other areas in California. And in terms of farm worker conditions, there's still a lot of groups here locally that are focused on just making sure that we have proper protections for our farm workers. We are predominantly agricultural economy. A lot of the money comes from oil and ag in our areas. And so it really is a huge part of our advocacy that we make sure and that we assure that people are being taken care of when they're out there, feeding the rest of the country. So Neil, I don't know if you have anything else to add to that.
No, just the fact that, there are all these disparities, especially in the 21st district, and having our major industries being oil and ag, it's really tough for progressives to make their voices heard, because obviously those industries aren't just protecting Republicans. They're also protecting establishment Democrats. And so, one of the really big fights right now is, a lot of folks think California is super progressive, but they're fracking here. And Governor Newsom is allowing them to frack here. And they frack in communities that are lower income, that are minority communities like Arvin. And, there's 123 TCP in our waterways that Shell, sold to farmers here all the way back since the 50s. And we have cancer clusters all the way through the Central Valley. So a lot of that progressive movement, we have great environmental organizations here in Kern County. Sierra Club just started up. We have a Sunrise Kern group that's, working on things, as well as a Center for Race, Poverty, and the Environment justice organization. And so all of them right now are working on, pushing our supervisors to limiting the amount of wells that are opening up in Kern County. But obviously, even the Democrats, the one Democrat on our board of supervisors is pretty friendly with the oil industry. So, we're really trying to start to build that grassroots movement to take on, these supervisors, take on Chevron and Shell and ERA and push back. So, all of it, it's a vicious cycle. And so we're trying to give, our community members some advocacy and to, really educate folks on how important it is to vote and to get involved in our electoral process so we can finally end that vicious cycle.
Well, thank you, Neil, and thank you, Yvette. Cannot wait to keep working with you all. And one of the things about the California Democratic Party, right? Your county chair or your state chair said he wouldn't take fossil fuel money, and he broke that pledge. So we're going to hold him accountable here coming up. So thank you again.
We'll help you do it.
Yes, let's do it. And then let's go ahead and finish the call up tonight. We got a bunch of stuff coming up. I just heard that our Oregon call scheduled for Wednesday is now canceled because of power outages in the area. So we hope our friends in Oregon are safe and warm tonight and over the next couple of days. So we're going to be canceling that call because of the power situation in Oregon. It's been a rough year for weather to our friends to the Northwest. We are going to be out phone banking for Nina Turner, our beloved Nina Turner, every Wednesday and Sunday at our Revolution. We get her into Congress, we're going to expand the squad big time with Nina. Imagine the Congresswoman Nina Turner and Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley working together. That is going to be awesome. Down in New Orleans, we have endorsed Karen Carter Peterson for Congress. Also a special election. That election is now set, just coming up here in a couple of weeks. We'll be phone banking for Karen Carter Peterson this week. Next slide, please.
And tomorrow we have our Florida state call. So you don't have to be from Florida, but if you are, you should definitely join us. So you can join our groups coast to coast. On Wednesday, we will have our DC call with Democrats in control of the House and Senate. It's finally for a time for DC statehood. Find out more on DC state call featuring Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton. And then we will have our Texas state call on Thursday with Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee and LULAC National President Domingo Garcia and more. And then Saturday, we will have our New Jersey State call with Lieutenant Governor of New Jersey, Sheila Oliver, on the commemorating Black History Month. And with that, we'd like to say thank you to everyone joining us. And a special thanks to our volunteers, our donors, everybody who signed up for a Movement Builder membership on this call and who did it ahead of time. We can't do this work without you. And again, if you can sign up, if you're on the phones, press *3. You'll be connected to an operator. If you're on Zoom, you'll see a link in the chat. But before we sign off, let's do our chants. So, Mike,
when we organize,
we win.
When we organize,
we win.
Awesome. Let's keep on organizing and keep on winning. Happy President's Day.